Good morning, everybody. How is everybody today? Awake, maybe. Yeah, if you can. Welcome to our next instalment in our set of Lava Users Forums. If you haven't been to one of these before, we try to organise a session like this at every Connect so that we, the Lava developers, can, well, hear what people are doing with Lava. We can try and help, and even better, the Lava users can try and help each other. If you can give us feedback on what we're doing well for you, on what you think we're not doing well for you, and on things that you think we should be doing for you, all of that is great. I'm hoping that Neil is going to be, or someone is going to be taking some notes so we can actually, track what was said here. We of course do have the Lava users mailing list as well, but it's still great to actually meet people face to face and have some, a more dynamic discussion. So, where are we up to? We have just released. What was the version that you pushed out this week, Neil?
2018.7.post1. So that's a small hotfix just for the network group. So 2018.7 is your current release.
We have now totally completed the V2 migration. We are hoping that all of the major labs have moved across with us and no one is still running the old V1 code that we are scared of. We have some ideas on where we want to go in the next year or so in terms of, more new features and bug fixes. But we'd like to hear more from you folks. Does that?
There is going to be we are preparing an announcement to the Lava Announced mailing list. If you're not on the Lava Announced mailing list, subscribe now. But you might start seeing some mentions of something else, but you will get full information shortly.
So, who'd like to talk to us? What are we doing well? What are we not doing well? Yes, there are 2 mics in the audience.
Yeah, what is the future plan of the Lava?
See the announcement we're going to make today.
I leave the room.
I didn't hear the question.
Sorry, what was the second?
No, I just said I'll wait for your email. That's it.
Sure. We're looking at a bit of a change in terms of how Lava development is organised. We're not going away or anything, don't worry about that. We're hoping we should be able to be even more flexible and more helpful for more users in the future. You'll see more details later.
So this is kind of difficult because I don't have any questions because Neil and I share an office. So the easiest thing for me to do usually is just to go, Neil, over here. Just a commentary, which I've said before in previous Connects. The transition to V2 has been absolutely superb. It's been it's been a real breath of fresh air. What we can do with it. Do I have any criticisms? There's always little bits you pick at, but like I say, because I sit with Neil, and when there's that we need to be able to do this, I go and bug Neil until he goes, oh, all right.
So one of the things that we've been focused on please dive in.
We have a use case from a KBT team. I was discussing with Milosh and Don. if there is a kernel crash happens, like I had to go to the jump to the job and see what is there. So is there any situation like I could search with a string, so that could display like this string is available in XYZ jobs or links to that?
Sorry,
Can I search? I mean, we can search. I want to have a search button. If I give a kernel crash locked there, like a couple of words, then it could search in what available jobs and it could display. That could help.
So the jobs tables that are displayed in the Lava server side, they support limited searching. And then the other way to search is by creating a query. The table searching is limited, and I don't see a feasible way of making that better, really. But the main way to search anything in Lava is to write a query.
You want to search inside the logs directly?
Inside the Lava job?
In the logs?
Yes, logs.
So, as Neil is saying, this is not possible currently. If you want to do that, you will have to grab the logs and put them in Elasticsearch or something like that.
Can you pass me the mic?
So why can't this be a new feature request? So to index all the logs in the Elasticsearch after the job is done.
That's possible to. Yeah, it's a new feature to do.
And then do the full text search.
Yeah, the only thing with that, I'm not sure that actually falls within Lava's scope. That might actually be something that needs to be done by someone else, but we can talk about that. Mostly searching within a test job log is down to what your browser supports. That's the quickest way of finding anything is to do that.
You could write a Python module using XML RPC to go and grab appropriate logs and do
you
grabs.
can already,
you can
you
do
can
that
already
already.
download the test job log in a couple of different ways.
Yeah,
and
but
then
it
once
limits.
you've got a local file, that's
Yeah, but it limits you to like a single job. If you want to search across, say, multiple jobs, then it becomes really tedious.
But then to search, I would be concerned that would put too much load on the master to actually to expand existing query support to the actual log files is going to be too much work on the master for the vendor.
It's a different thing. You don't search in your database. You search in Elasticsearch indexes, right?
What we can do if you want to do that, it's to have an external Elasticsearch cluster like the one that Linaro does have. And what we can do, it will be a feature request to do then, will be to have some kind of an injector. Like when you finish the jobs, or I don't know how to do that, I don't have any idea how this is working, but to send the logs from Lava to the Elasticsearch cluster, and then you search directly into Elasticsearch. Because this is not something we will do inside Lava directly.
You really don't want to do it on the Lava master.
Well, no. So like you get Elasticsearch as a separate thing, and then in Lava Master, if you want to, there is this thing called Haystack that basically sends your queries back to Elasticsearch and gives you the results back, and that's it. You just write a template for it. So.
As long as the burden of the search doesn't end up in our little GUnicorn process, I'm happy with that.
I don't think anyone's suggesting that.
So after the job is done, you get the log, right? Put it through Logstash with some rules, like this is the Lava part, this is the log part, and so on. Index it in Elasticsearch, and then Elasticsearch does the job for you, right? It can run on Lava Master, but it can run somewhere else.
So the best way to do the pushing of the log to a location is actually with a query, because you'll need to identify exactly which jobs you're interested in. You won't necessarily go for sequential jobs. You'll have a search pattern of the metadata or the submitter or something that tags and brings those jobs together. Then that set of jobs are then sent off.
Or maybe you could use notification stuff on the end to trigger something else to go and grab the log once it's finished. Something like that could work too.
Yeah, we're diving into implementation.
Exactly, yeah.
So,
I mean, there's multiple ways of doing this, and we don't have it at the moment, but yes, I think it would be. It sounds like it would be a useful service for some people. So yeah, we should look at it. So, as I said, one of the things we've been doing work on over the last year or so is doing more and more work with containers. We already have a Lava dispatcher container that is built regularly, a Docker image. We are hoping to have the same feature for the Lava server software as well.
Individuals have already made those images, but we're actually formalizing it into an official Lava server Docker image, and it'll be one where you can choose whether to have your Postgres inside that Docker or as a separate service.
So we're hoping that with a combination of those two Docker images, that will make it easier for people to use Lava, to experiment with things and whatever without having to go through a lot of the setup work which people do at the moment. It should also make it a lot easier for us to do our own functional testing. So we'll benefit from this too, which is what's helping to drive it.
For people who are running their own Lava instances, you'll find in the Lava Lab Git repo, there's quite a useful tool that we developed originally for PMWG, the develop LXC, and basically it uses the Lava command line interface, runs up a container, passes any devices through, checks that the device is offline, blah, 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 and you can actually then interact with the device directly from within a container. It will not allow you to do it if the device is not in maintenance mode. So I know there aren't that, I don't know how many people here are actually running their own Lava instances, but it's been an incredibly useful tool for debugging problems. The only caveat to this is that every time Maria uses it, it throws an exception. No, so actually what that's led to is the fact that highlighted a couple of interesting bugs which are now fixed. But yeah.
So we are from Qualcomm server team, and we have not tried Lava. We don't know much about Lava. You talking about right now devices which are probably Android devices, how can we use this to develop our test of validation, especially the SOC validation, right? So Linux kernel and below.
Yeah, so this tool is more for debugging a problem on the board, okay, like you've got a hardware problem of some sort, right, rather than actually developing tests or anything like that. I mean, yeah.
Do you have any architecture diagram or something so we can just understand and see how does it work?
For which bits in particular?
Well, just I guess show the Lava diagram. So Lava itself is not normally used for for helping to do bring up of SOCs and stuff.
Oh, not
but
bring up.
Sure.
Day-to-day validation of software releases is what we are looking at.
Sure.
Not the SOC bring up asset, but
okay,
our focus is when we do releases, we do firmware releases and some changes to kernel. So how do we validate and make sure that it's not breaking anything?
So, okay, kernel stuff is exactly our bread and butter. It's what people do every day. So we will allow you to either net boot or similar is how most people would do this. You can net boot a kernel that just comes straight out to your CI build, deploy it to whichever different machines that you want, and run your tests. We'll then capture those test results, give you log files, and give you a nice index of the results. You can query individual results through our APIs and build up your own database. There's queries and charts and all kinds of cool stuff. Here is the architecture. The master is the core of Lava, which does the scheduling of devices. It's in charge of deciding which tests get run when, and then it will hand off actual running of the tests onto the worker, which it's often commonly called the dispatcher, which is the back end of that code as well. It is then responsible for actually directly managing a device under test. So it will have the serial port connections or the USB connection if it's an Android device, or whatever other kind of connections that you need will all be run by the dispatcher. The master, typically you only need one per instance, and one instance can have potentially many worker nodes attached, which can be local or can be remote. They use an encrypted comms method, ZMQ, to communicate, so you can happily have your workers spread all over the world, but still have a single master in charge.
Okay, thank you.
And we actually do, on a couple of Lava instances, have workers which are not physically in the lab, they're remote, China or France or wherever.
It's not just Android device. It is servers of various sizes, and it is open embedded devices. It's Android devices. It's a bit of everything, really.
You know, all the way down to, we've got some IoT boards running Zephyr, that kind of thing. We try to be as flexible as possible in terms of what we can support. About the only reasonably hard requirement is we need a serial port. It's how we interact with the devices.
And peculiarly with a lot of Android devices, we also need a removable battery. We don't want a battery in the device.
If you have a look at staging.validation.lenovo.org, which is where this site is, there is comprehensive documentation that goes through, first of all, this kind of slide, and then actually gives example test jobs for a range of different devices. Setting up your own Lava instance is not an easy thing to do. We totally acknowledge that, because there's a fair amount of experience, there's a fair amount of configuration you need to do. That comes down to just basically supporting all your devices. But if you work through the docs, we have good examples, starting simple and building up. So the most simple test example we have is just running a device in QEMU. So at that point, you can then go away and run that on your laptop and see how it works, and get a feel for what it can do for you.
Yeah, what I would recommend is just install Lava on a laptop, as Steve's saying, get a QEMU device working. It's actually, I think Steve's probably overplaying it. I don't think it's as difficult.
Oh, that one's easy.
Yeah, so that's fairly easy. The next level is creating something that supports your specific device. And the only way to really do that is take a look at the way we integrate existing device types and their device type configuration, their device instance configuration. I've found the easiest way to get a new Lava instance installed is to say, Luca, can you install me a new Lava instance? But
do we sell Lucas though?
No.
I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. So this, in our case, it would be device under test would be servers, Qualcomm or servers. So.
Okay. Yes. So we have had a number of devices for LEG, what's now the data center group, in lab. It depends very much on the kind of things you're testing as to how well Lava will support you. Anybody else? Lisa.
I just have a couple of questions, and the first one being, like, I know in previous Connects there had been trainings or sessions on like introduction to Lava, and lately I have not seen any current videos that walk potential users through like how to install like V2 and things like that. Are there any plans in the near future to do a training?
Bill, you've done a couple of those, haven't you?
Yeah, apologies if it's not kind of keeping up with the curve. I did refresh installation for V2, which I think is about a year old now, and I have done a specific one for light platforms, which was in Hong Kong. So Those two are Connect sessions with videos, and there are decks. And if you've got trouble finding them, then come and get me.
So I guess you were referencing them on the lavasoftware.org, right?
Yes, we don't do a good enough job of linking to the videos that Bill and a few others have produced. We will very soon. I mean, there was a talk about testing arm on arm using Lava earlier this week from Loic, if I remember. Which also, it didn't go much into the details of setting up Lava, but showed, for example, how you can do a simple Lava on your desk, which is exactly the kind of thing that a lot of people want as a cheap and easy way of learning what to do. I'm hoping that the videos are going up relatively quickly. I haven't looked yet.
Also, if you search just normal web searches for Lava-related type of stuff, you'll find that there are lots of other companies doing their own Lava sessions. That, we have found a couple of them. We are adding them to a new site that's going to be announced soon, or links to them at least.
And then even, like I said, we went to FOSDEM last year, and we were pleasantly surprised that it wasn't just Lenovo people talking about Lava. There were like 3 other sessions on the tracks from other people that we knew nothing about. So we're very happy that lots of other people are getting involved and providing a different take on how to work with Lava. You know, the more information out there, I guess, the better.
Well, that's good to know, because like sometimes when I do get people who are interested in like setting up their own instance on a laptop, and I don't easily find videos that actually walk them through that, and especially for those who are non-native English speakers, sometimes, you know, reading the documentation can be overwhelming, and just be able to see someone do it hands-on in person just makes things easier.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it might be a useful thing. I think Bill's talks normally go on a little bit after that, or it's you know, here is Lava in a box. I guess we could actually do a couple of videos just describing and demonstrating directly setting up. Oh, apparently Sentinel's already done one. We have links. It's an old version, so I guess we'll probably refresh it as well. Yeah. So. Okay.
And the second question I have is, like, you know, first of all, you know, thank you for having ARM Energy Pro support. I know that took a long time to implement, but so currently Lava supports just one probe per device. Are there any plans in the near future to have support devices that have multiple probes attached to them?
Multiple probes.
Probes.
Don't we have multiple probes support? Yeah. Yeah, there is. Yeah.
Okay.
The MediaTek's got more than one.
Well, we also have a Dragonboard that has 2 probes attached to them as well, so.
Okay.
Well, maybe I just need to, like, test it
Yeah,
out.
no, so I know that we support multiple probes because, or multiple devices attached, because I had to explicitly change some code in Develop LXC to get onto the MediaTek board and get both devices passed through. So yeah, no, we do.
Apparently, I didn't get the memo then.
So there was initially some issue with just storing the metadata about exactly which probe was connected where. So that took a while to sort out, but I think, yeah, it should all be in place now. So
That would help a lot.
fine, yes. Yeah. So I'm glad that we finally got there for you. Is the energy probe support useful?
It has been very, very useful.
Yay.
Well, there was 2 sessions yesterday afternoon, 5 till 6, specifically by Vincent and Lisa, about what they've found, how they've, the challenges also, because something that we just hadn't really considered, but Vincent brought it up in his presentation, was, so we got 2 boards. They appear to have they're exactly the same batch and everything, but they appear to have different energy characteristics. And the reason is really, really important. One of them was doing serial through a mezzanine, The other was doing serial through an FTDI. So it's just the extra power draw on the mezzanine. Right?
It's been challenging tickets to figure out. Those particular tickets that we worked with was been really challenging to figure out exactly what is the difference and what it does to the power levels, and it's been a lot of fun. I've really appreciated that particular challenge.
But also, what was really quite interesting and heartening for me was Vincent was showing the charts, and that a certain new Android kernel came out, and suddenly the power consumption went off the scale, and that was actually highlighting a real problem that needed fixing. So it's what Lava is all about, right?
So was that just a fixed offset then in terms of those two devices, or was it not that subtle?
No, what we had to do was actually make sure that they were both equivalent in every aspect. I mean, we've got another one with the 960 and the fans.
Yeah.
So that you have to have exactly the same spec of fan, because you know the power draw of the fan, the actual cooling, the positioning, all of that makes a difference. And the other thing that was interesting, again, that Vincent said, and it hadn't occurred to me, that after you've run a test, you have to let the board rest to cool down, because otherwise the next run is invalidated.
Do we need to be setting these in a bath of liquid nitrogen or something? Sure. No, but again, no, it's a major thing. We've had a couple of other people asking us about potentially boot time slowdown. A lot of these things can be affected. The test you're running can be affected by the fact you're watching it.
So what I had not actually realised until I found out last night was that they actually want to make sure that the device cools down. They submit a job that does nothing, and but except allows a certain amount of time to pass for it to cool. I mean, which is something that I was thinking about this in the session yesterday, was maybe we should be looking at issues like that as an implementation thing. So you can actually say some sort of device tag thing that says, yeah, but if you have a power off command that has sleep 300, you've got to take care of timeouts and things like that, because you know once you power it off.
So we have the option to set Lava to, if there's been any issue, we rerun a health check. So as a possible future request, it could be that for any of these specific devices, if they run a test, can we run this after this test, so that they don't necessarily have to, so that the scheduler definitely knows that after any kind of active test, they will need to add a passive test.
Yeah, it's much more likely that you would implement a lag inside the device database object than to run a specific job that isn't a health check. Yeah, and it may be something. It can be orchestrated in a couple of ways already, I think, but we can.
Yeah, we can work around it, definitely. But it's an interesting thing that, because it sounds like a scheduler issue.
Yeah, the scheduler just needs to
know that after a job has been run, don't put anything on that for whatever specified time, and then you don't have this. Oh well, we've got to submit this sort of no-op job.
Yeah.
I was a bit confused, but shouldn't it be a property of the device? That is a characteristic of the device. The device needs this to function properly.
Yes.
It should be.
But it is instance specific, because you know, people who aren't running power measurements are not going to be as concerned about this, and they're going to want, like LKFT, they're going to want to run as many high key jobs as they want straight through and blitz the thing and get the results quickly. But in power management instance, they actually need to have this lag. So it does become, it's a device characteristic, but it's also an instance characteristic.
That's the point. It's going to be, it's instance specific or even requirement specific, right, depending on the job. But again, I'll go back to what Steve said. You find that boot times change if the device is warm versus if the device is cold. So if you're doing kernel boot check, you know, what's the boot time? You need consistency. So that there are not, but it is. It's not what I'm saying is it's not just power management.
I know, but that's not as easy to implement either, because those kinds of jobs can get intermixed with regular jobs that they want
regular
to
jobs that you don't care about.
So then you need, well, okay, now I'm going to have device tags to
So in that case, the right answer to me sounds like if you have a job that cares, you should be adding something at the beginning of your job that adds a delay, and then your job alone is responsible for making sure the device is in the state you want.
With a lot of these devices, that's relatively easy because you stick it in the initial LXC test case.
Yeah. So once you're into the LXC, don't start doing things with the device.
Yeah, you just sleep as long as you want to. You manage the timeouts then. And
the whole point of V2 is that it's all under the test writer's control.
I mean, of course, in this particular case, it's not a time; it's a temperature you're caring about. Do we need temperature sensors on these things so we know that, so we then wait for it to drop to the right temperature first? I know, it gets complicated, but yeah, exactly. Let's be measuring what we actually care about.
Yeah, I mean, I think a longer term we could look at something like temperature sensors on the boards so you actually say, I don't want to start this test until this threshold.
And then we get a bad day in the lab where the aircon's failed and nothing will start. But it's better to have that than to have a load of invalid tests.
No, that's the point is, if the aircon in the lab fails, we have a problem. Right?
And test will be invalidated.
Yeah.
Because of that problem.
Still, even if it doesn't fail, we have. Even if the aircon doesn't fail, we have a wide range of temperatures, and the time to get to below a certain threshold varies with the ambient temperature. So in this case, the time alone cannot determine that it actually goes below a certain threshold.
It's like the old thing of, with a boot problem, add a sleep 5 in your init script. It's not the right answer.
No, but I mean, yeah.
So I actually, the more we've sort of talked around this, the more I think, okay. The idea of adding a temperature sensor to begin with was, oh God, another scaling problem. But it's probably the right thing to do.
Better control of the environment is good.
Yeah. So maybe we'd create a ticket to look at this.
Yeah. And it fits nicely into your monitoring solutions that are being developed as well. It's a case of you need to understand the ambient temperature across the lab as well as the temperature close to the device of the device.
Temperature measurement in the lab in general is something we are now looking at actively.
As of about 3 minutes ago.
No.
No,
that's not true. We actually did discuss this on Monday.
Okay, cool.
So originally when we were at the Quorum, the old office, the second office, Matt installed a temperature sensor above the middle rack. We only had 5 racks at that point, and it was a USB temperature sensor, and it just sent us. He had a mooning mapping for it, so we could just look and see that everything was okay. When we moved to the Quorum, because we didn't have air conditioning in the old lab, we do have air conditioning in the new lab. It was like, that's less important. It turns out we were wrong. So. Because actually before the data center group moved out of the lab, we were actually running at about 26 Celsius, which is we were. Okay. But anything over 25 is really bad for UPS batteries. So when we kicked leg out, when they removed their stuff, it we now can maintain it at around 20 degrees Celsius at all times. So that's great. But
of
we're
course,
away this week.
Yeah, well, not only that, but that's ambient at one point in the lab. It's not on any given device.
Exactly. One of the things that Luca pointed out on Monday was we can actually we can use the ILO on the servers to find out localized temperature in the racks. But then when we go down to the device level, yeah, having a temperature sensor on the CPU that just tells you, oh, are you cool enough yet? Yeah, okay. Yeah, we'll investigate that. I think it's a good idea. Yeah.
Okay, that's a useful side discussion.
It is. Sorry, yeah, I sort of hijacked it a bit there.
Thankfully, this time we've got lots of time, so that was actually fine.
What else? Who's next? Do we have anything else that people want to raise particularly?
About generally about Will and Demon, we haven't heard any new features or things going on with that. How is it working with other new components, for example, like C, if it is at any level, I don't know, for the tests. Yeah.
VLAN D is basically, give or take, it's feature complete. Modulo, adding support for new switches, it does everything we need. I did have grander plans for quite a few more things, which, to be honest, I never got to because they haven't really been an issue for us.
What about wireless, for example? Is it going to work with, is there any plan for that, for tests in the lab, for example?
Well, just to say, there were things that do need to get done are some Python 3 and then the packaging and test support on staging VLO. But those issues are already tracked.
Yeah. There were a couple of things at the moment as well. VLAN D basically does no internal security for its admin stuff, which is fine. It's not fine, but it's good enough in a reasonably secured lab. If anybody was wanting to deploy it in a more open lab, it would be a nightmare. For example, it doesn't support. It's only supporting port-based VLANs rather than anything more clever. So if you have multiple VLANs on a single port, it's not going to help you at all. So if that's the kind of thing you're thinking about with wireless, maybe, then we can't really help.
No.
It just feels that with the advent of the Ledge group and people like that, and with IoT, this might become an issue going forward.
Sure. Okay. I mean, in that case, yeah, we can schedule more work, and more features as needed.
And once we get the current features like the packaging sorted out and a test support, it's going to be easier for someone else to take on that work and contribute.
Yeah.
Admittedly, yes, it's very much my baby at the moment. That's not for any particularly good reason. It's the way it's happened.
You put your hand up.
Well, yeah. Not having VLAN D running properly in staging has been an issue because it means, for example, we've had a problem where it broke when the core of Lava moved to Python 3, and we didn't notice. Yeah, that's not good. So obviously, this is why we want functional testing.
Yeah, I mean, I think the request is to actually just have the two BeagleBone Blacks in staging mapped so that we can, which should only take us 10 minutes.
It's basically done. We need to do the other end of it and actually run some tests with them. So we've waffled on. Is there anything else that people would like to talk about? Stunned silence. I guess it's
15 minutes early.
Yeah.
In that case, we might as well preempt the announcement a bit.
Character delay, yes.
So, I love the way the Chromebook now decides that's not secure. It's just we haven't set up a redirect from HTTP to HTTPS for www. Well, the Chromebook didn't like it, whatever happened. Right, so the Lava Software Community Project. Let's go to a page. So this is a lot of stuff about Lava that other people may actually find quite useful. There's the videos, including a couple of very early ones. You look very, very young in this one from November. There's Dave. And then we've got some of the. So this is the contributed one, Embedded Linux Conference, and we've got a users forum. This is a very important one, best practices. We're getting devices into Lava. We put a lot of time into the backup for that. And a rather unfortunate shot of Steve for the Budapest users forum. I don't think we get control of the frame that's grabbed on those things. And this is the big news. So Remy has been doing a lot of work on this. There we go. So we are moving off a lot of the Linaro infrastructure to make it easier for people outside Linaro to contribute directly to Lava. There will, as I said, there will be a formal announcement about this with all of the details. It's just the way things go that we tend to announce things at a Connect when, in this case, the people announcing to are not really here. But it adds a lot of flexibility in how we're actually doing our development. We've got much better CI processing now on our Lava Software Community Project than we ever could have had using Jenkins and Gerrit and other tools that are within Linaro. We've got much finer grained testing and much more wide-scale testing. And yes, so we've changed the workflow. We're not using Gerrit anymore. We are keeping the linaro.org Git up to date, but only as a best effort. Every once in a while, the mirroring doesn't want to work, and we'll eventually retire that anyway. So there's not much point putting time into that. But I do push to the Linaro one manually every once in a while. But all the work is actually happening here now. So the announcement will go out later today when Steve and I have actually finished the contribution guide for the documentation to support it. And it's basically going to be opening up the Lava development to people outside Linaro. So the users forum at Connect in future years will concentrate a lot on Linaro's use of Lava, right? But we can also then update you on what has happened from the community contribution. So maybe in future we'll have a slightly longer introduction saying this is what's happened, this is what the community's contributed since we last had the forum.
Like, for example, we know, obviously, at this kind of meetup, Dave and the rest of the lab team are telling us about the issues and how they've been using Lava and what they've done. We know that there are quite a few other people out there, quite a number of other companies using Lava. We want to get those people more directly involved, so they're not just consuming what we've done and then telling us that we've broken it after the fact or that we're not supporting their use cases. We actually want to get those people involved too, to help drive the development, to help decide the roadmap, so that we can actually do a better job for everybody. And of course, they don't just get to then tell us what to do, but they also get to contribute directly. And we should end up with a better rounded project and significantly more functionality in the future that should help everybody.
And the immediate thing you'll notice if you are within Linaro using Jira for your own ticketing and issue tracking, when you come across something that's actually you need a fix in Lava, you won't have a Lava story or a Lava project in Jira anymore. You'll have a link that says the work is going to happen over here, and it's going to be at Git Lava Software to Lava issues, and that's where all the work is actually going to happen. Because then we've got community visibility, community involvement, and if there's anything else going on that the community want to work on, it gets brought into the round, and not just, oh, this is coming in from Linaro and has to go in. No, it gets discussed in the round and gets designed into whatever else that the community want to do.
So the flip side of that is that Stefan and Matt are now not in the core Lava team. Instead, they're working with stakeholder groups directly to work on whatever they need out of not just Lava, but the whole of the output of the core Linaro tool. You know, STG Software and the software technology group. So those guys are going to be concentrating on, you know, making Lava and the rest of our tools work well for the members and the stakeholders directly, while we go off slightly to focus on making Lava itself better for everyone. It's a different way of looking at things. We hope it'll work well.
So basically, myself, Remy, and Steve are now the Linaro Lava software team. We are contributors to an upstream project.
Any questions, comments about that? I guess not. Okay. I said there will be a lot more information coming about this very soon. We're just giving a bit of a sneak preview as we've got a few minutes here. So I guess we're done for today. Thank you, everyone. We had a couple of very, very useful side discussions there to help us work on, you know, to help us understand what people are needing and what they want us to do. I guess see you again next time. Thank you.